Phonological and phonemic awareness relates to literacy development in young children. They are the foundation upon which all other layers of literacy are built. Phonological awareness is the understanding that words are made up of a variety of individual sounds called phonemes. Phonemes are the individual sounds that make up spoken words. A student should be able to recognize and use rhyme, break words into syllables, blend phonemes into syllables and words, identify the beginning and end sounds in a word, and see smaller words in a larger word, such as cup, cupcake. This is critical for learning to read. Phonological awareness provides the basics for phonics, which is the relationship between sounds and letters in written language. Phonemic awareness is the ability to focus on and manipulate individual sounds, how sounds function in words, and words are made up of phonemes blended together. For example, the word hat has 3 phonemes, h, at, hat. This is the foundation for spelling and word recognition. A student that does not understand the sound a letter makes will not be able to read or write the word. Phonemic awareness helps a student's growth in printed word recognition. Early reading development in preschool is related to literacy skills, which are comprised of print concepts, letter naming, vocabulary, phonological awareness, listening, speaking, and comprehension. Concept of print is a set of rules that readers and writers follow, which are important for emergent reading and writing. Preschool students begin to learn that print is organized in certain ways and written language is related to oral language. The elements of concept of print include text. Print relays a message. Text is read from left to right, from the top of the page to the bottom, turning pages from left to right, and beginning at the front of the book and ending at the back of the book. Students have an understanding that words are made up of individual letters and a space appears in between the words to separate them. They recognize different symbols such as alphabetic letters versus numerals and punctuation. Students begin to understand the importance of punctuation in capital letters. The beginning of the sentence always starts with a capital letter and ends with a punctuation. The concept of book is understanding the correct way to hold a book, the front and back cover, where to find the title, author, and illustrator. Alphabetic knowledge is also part of print concept, knowing the names of each letter, the order of the alphabet, recognizing upper and lower case letters, and understanding the difference between letters and words. An activity that will teach print concept is having my students gather at my reading table during station time. I will pass out identical age-appropriate books to every student. I will model the correct way in holding a book, point out the front cover and flipping pages. They will repeat after me. Together we will point to individual words, letters, space between the words, and a line of print, the top and bottom of the page, and left or right. Doing this together one step at a time and repeating the process will allow for my students to grasp the concept of print. Students that have difficulties with the concept of print, I will point to what I'm saying on their book, then ask them to show me, repeating this process until I know they have an understanding. Letter naming is a recognition of letters, which is a key part of a child learning how to read. The written words of English are made up of individual letters, which is important for reading and spelling. If a child is unable to recognize individual letters, they will struggle with learning sounds and recognizing words. A child who has alphabetic knowledge is familiar with the names of letters, shapes, and the sounds they make, which is important for emergent reading. A small activity group that I will teach letter naming is playing letter bingo with my students. Each student will have a letter bingo board with 9 lowercase letters. I will say a letter out loud and the sound it makes and have the students search their board for the letter. They will place a token on the space that has the little letter. I will encourage my students to look at the alphabet wall for additional help. Students that need additional help, I will show them a flashcard with a picture of the letter and a graphic representing the letter. Vocabulary. The words and their meanings are building blocks of literacy. A child must understand the words in order to effectively communicate. Vocabulary improves communication in all areas of reading, writing, speaking, and listening. The more words a child knows, the more they will be able to recognize them in print. And comprehension improves when they understand what the words mean. There are 4 types of vocabulary: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Listening are the words that a child needs to know and understand with what they hear. Speaking is a child's vocabulary they use to communicate. Reading is the words a child needs to know in order to comprehend what they read. And writing vocabulary is when a child first learns to write. Students can't comprehend what they are reading, hearing, speaking, or writing if they do not understand what vocabulary words mean. A small game I would play that would teach an individual group vocabulary is playing the game I Spy. I will have cut out fish on the table with a graphic inside the fish. I will say to a student, "I spy with my little eye a fish with a frog," and the student will find the fish that has a picture of a frog. I will repeat this with several vocabulary words. Students that have trouble finding the picture of the word that I name, I will give additional clues about the word. For example, I would say a frog is green, jumps, and it makes a ribbit sound. Phonological awareness is critical with learning to read and spell and is developed through listening. It is the ability to recognize and work with sounds in a spoken language, and it is the foundation with learning to read. Preschool students learn to hear the sounds in spoken language. They learn how to pick out rhyming words, understand that certain letters make certain sounds, count, and tap out the number of syllables in a word, and how sounds repeat themselves. Phonemic awareness is a component of phonological awareness, which is the knowledge that a spoken word are made up of individual sounds called phonemes. Students will learn to segment, which is breaking apart of a word, and blending, which is being able to say a word after hearing each individual sound. A small group activity that will teach phonological awareness is learning to rhyme. I will hold up a flashcards with the word and a graphic representing the word, saying 2 words and asking the students if they rhyme. For example, the words cat and hat. Students that have difficulty understanding the concept of rhyming words, I will break apart the words, pronouncing each syllable and tapping them out. I will ask the students, what letters do they hear? Are they similar or different? Listening allows students to focus on the sounds and make sense of the words they hear. It is an active skill that provides meaning to words and communication. Listeners construct understanding as they listen and often come away with an overall understanding of ideas. Listening improves vocabulary, reading comprehension, and communication skills. Listening is a process that actively engages the mind in making a meaning. A small group activity that will teach listening skills is a game called Simon Says. This game requires the student to listen and repeat what is asked, which also improves their vocabulary. I will say, Simon says, jump, stand on one foot, touch your nose, etc. Students that have difficulty listening to the game, I will repeat and paraphrase what I want them to do, emphasizing on keywords. Children must be able to listen and understand words before they are able to produce words and effectively use them. Oral language lays the foundation for reading and writing skills, which is used in and out of the classroom. Children learn to speak through practice and learn the structure of language for communicating purposes. Oral language develops vocabulary concepts, the meaning of words, and pronunciation, which is introduced by other adults in the child's environment. If adults around the child pronounce words incorrectly or use improper language, the child will pick up on this and model after them. Oral language motivates a child to use language for other purposes, such as reading, writing, listening, which is weaved into our everyday lives. Small group activity that will teach speaking skills is singing songs. We will sing nursery rhymes together along with my laptop displaying the songs. Students that have difficulty following along and saying the words, I will break down the word for them, pronounce each letter, and blend it together and say the word and have the student repeat after me. Comprehension involves a child taking what they have read or heard and being able to understand it, process it, and being able to recall what was read or said. Being able to understand the meaning behind the text or the spoken word helps children develop intellectually, socially, and professionally. Comprehension allows a child to summarize, compare and contrast, problem solve, self-question, and relate background knowledge. It helps to process information of the spoken and written word. A small group activity to teach comprehension is reading an age-appropriate book to my students. I will flip through the book, showing my students the graphics and illustrations, and have them describe what they see, what they think is happening, what they think will happen next, how the characters are feeling, happy, mad, excited, etc. I will read the story and I'll have my students tell me their favorite part of the story. Students that have difficulty retelling their favorite part, I will ask questions pertaining to the story that was just read and show an illustration in the book pertaining to my questions that will help the student recall what happened. For example, was your favorite part the cat that jumped in the flower pot? Early reading development in preschool is related to literacy skills, which are comprised of print concepts, letter naming, vocabulary, phonological awareness, listening, speaking, and comprehension. These skills are intertwined and work together, creating success with literacy. Thank you.